So yes, Purple Boy, that's my film, and this was quite a long process of writing. I took around 8 years to do this film, like 5 years writing, and about 3 years of production. And in the beginning, I had on my mind a very simple screenplay structure, like very classical, because I had a lot of ideas about the way that I wanted to show some scenes. That I didn't want to be very conventional way, but at the same time to use a very simple structure, like the 3 acts, like a prologue in the beginning with 2 plot points. So I had with this very simple and classical structure. So during these 5 years of scripts, I learned a little bit how I should, how I could work, how my methods of creative process would be applied in the process. So in the end, I became in this conclusion that in the very first layer of the project, and that's, of course, it's my very personal point of view. I don't have any problem with the authors that put the very personal ideas or subject in the first layer for, of course, mainly of the films that we see in animation, and gorgeous, amazing films are very, very personal from the beginning to the end. But that was quite an accident, let's say, that I used this subject of gender identity of the film. So this subject became in the very first layer, and I will tell them why how this idea came up. And the second layer, and it's not, let's say, not so clear, and I didn't want to be so clear because I wanted at the same time something very universal. There is a lot of political and social context in Purple Boy, very inspired by the Brazilian military dictatorship from the 70s. And on the third layer, I used many personal, intimate elements on this story. So how the idea came up? Okay, no, not here. Okay, this is me. Okay, okay. So how this idea came up? I didn't want to put this image here, but it's okay, just fine. So no, I don't. Okay. So the first visual concept I had from this project was these children raising from the floor like a seed. So since the beginning, I developed many different scripts. I had something about 20 scripts in total. And the beginning was something like a metaphor of growth, of, let's say, emancipation. So for example, one of the idea, this character, in the end, he found his body and his legs, and he lived the place that he spent all his life. In another case, he became a tree, like a metaphor of the end of life. But so I spent like 1.5 years working with these many ideas without know exactly where I was going. And I had a lot of rejections with founds and someday I start going in thinking what it could be, this project. And someday I start to question myself about the character, if it would be a boy or a girl. And since I was confused about this idea of the biological sex of these children, someday I thought to myself, oh, but we don't see its body. So probably it could be interesting to play with it, with the identity and with the gender. So with the identity and the biological sex. So this came out, and I started to figure out how I would develop the subject, because I wasn't, till this moment, I wasn't involved at all. So I started to read about the gender identity and to meet transgenders, transsexuals. And one of the most important inspirations for me, it was the first Brazilian transsexual man who was operated in Brazil during the 70s. That he was João W. Neri, and he was a very huge activist. He passed away in the past year with the cancer. And in the beginning, I met him on social media, and he gave me a lot of advices what things it will be important to tell in this project. So I was very happy to know him and to talk with him about this project. Then I met many other people that gave me a lot of good advices. And well, since these two images, they are here, and I forgot this order. Let's say that's me when I was 5. I was still in Brazil here in the kindergarten. And it's very curious, this photo, because, well, it reminds me one of the moments of I don't know if everyone here already saw the film, because I will spoil it, some things here, some scenes. So this reminds me one of the scenes of the film, but it's with the kind of flower crown. And this other photo is very curious, because I see in the photo my father with this garden hose. It's hose, we say, garden hose with the water. And there is a scene with the wolf. The wolf dead, his father. There is a lot of inspiration of my father for many reasons. One of the reasons, because my father, he was a military parachutist. And in this photo, we can see here that he has this plaque here. It almost looked like the dog plaques that they use like this. And it's a military parachutist plaque. And yes, so this was this relationship between the character of the film and the father was very inspired in this relationship I had with my father, and the fact that when I was living in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, I was very close of a military camp, and I could see, there was in the 80s, I remember to see the parachutists falling from the sky every day, every single day. So so since the 2011, yes, I did a lot of research of the film, visual research. So this was the very, very first drawing I did for an application. So the style was completely different, and then I changed it. And then I changed then I change it again, and then I change it. So, but even from one of another, there was a lot of change too. So it was a longer process of development. So when I had this this style, this one is not well. I have this image here, but this is a real image, still image from the film. So this was some kind of graphic research. So then I start to develop more this style. So I have this one. Okay. So these characters. So some model sheets of the wolf, and the lineup of the characters. And something for me was very important. It was the research of the color. For me, was something quite mathematical, wanting to find the hexadecimal value for the color. So I decided to even the line. It's not black. It's something kind of purple. So it was not really intentional for the name of the film. Even like Purple Boy, the name it's for me for a very simple reason. Purple, because it's the symbolic color of the trans identity, and it's the mix of blue and pink. So for me, it was very important when I started to realize, okay, that's my graphic, the graphic visual style that I want to use, and now I must define exactly the color, because I want that you could feel in the whole film there is some unity in the style. I don't want to have too much changes. Since the film there is so many metaphors, many symbolic elements, so I want the color will be more unified. So I didn't use it like pure black, and I didn't use it pure white neither. So that's one of the still this is not a still image. This is one of the last graphic research, very close of the first scene of the film. This one was graphic visual research too, but when I did it, it was very complicated to. I tried to animate these textures, this hair but was too difficult. So I decided to not put in this scene this style. So this was the visual research. This was the same, and this one, this. And well, yeah, so when I was doing the color, yeah, so that was some basics for me, the colors that I use. This the middle one really looks like white, but it's not. So it's that the one of the, let's say, from the right, the first from the right was probably one of the main colors I used in the film. So when I started the Animateka, I remember I was after this project won the Arte Prize in MIFA in Annecy, and when I started to work with Hélène Vessière, the responsible from the court-circuit program Arte, we decided to develop the script and to put some ideas. And there was a very specific scene that Hélène, she couldn't understand in the script. And we didn't have a fight, but she wanted to change because in the script, because she couldn't understand. And I tried to explain her, and she said, no, this is not, I can't understand in the script. So then I did the animatic with the sound. I did the sound and the animatic. For me, of course, when you do animatic, you can't see animatic without sound. It's totally fundamental to watch animatic. So I did this animatic, and then she said, okay, cool, okay, now I understand. So I will show this sequence of the animatic and the final results that you can see in the film. Okay.
Je suis un garçon, moi.
So then, Hélène Vissière, she said, okay, now I understand, but you just need to change the screenplay because it's not right what you said there. So So during the production process was quite complex, because this film was produced in 3 countries: in Portugal, in France, in Lille, in the north of France, and in Belgium, in Brussels. And during this time, I was living in Brussels, so I spent most of the time in Brussels. So many things was made at distance, but all the team, all the producers, the artistic team, they were incredible. For example, I can say that in France, I spent one of the producers that were like my right hand, Michael Carton. He was the executive producer too. So we were every day, like during almost 3 years in contact. So it was very important to keep all the process of the production flowing. And even the things were, many of the part of the production were made like in remote distance. All the animators, they were exceptional. They were very, very, very good to do, to work in the film. So in close of the end, when the animation was already done, I started to do the background. In the beginning, it was not supposed to do the background because I was so full of work. It was terrible, controlling so many, doing animation, doing in-betweens, correcting many things in the lines, in the colors. So it was very, very deep. So I was working like about, I don't know, let's say 10 hours, 12 with the backgrounds. Let's say I'm forced. In the end, was about 14 hours a day. So it was a bit crazy. But well, so since it was difficult to find someone for the backgrounds, and the producer, they said, "Oh, so you must do all by yourself." So, okay, I will do. But it was very, very hard. But I did it. So this one, I will put, since this is quite big. So this is one of the biggest. There was some. There is a lot of details. Yeah, I think that people, for example, all these billboards, they will put it twice in the film, because, well, we don't see very well. Even they are quite hidden here. For example, this one. That is very, very important. It's for me one of the most important, but we can realize the slogan here. Maybe, Gustavo, do you know what the slogan there is there? It's Brazil. They say, or do you love it, or do you live it? And it was a slogan from the dictatorship in Brazil. It was like the main slogan in Brazil. Oh yes, actually, well, yeah. It's still this slogan, but it was from this new government. They are still there. And so to put more in the context, I put the slogan of not slogan, but the billboard of the World Cup of Mexico from in the 70s, where Brazil won the World Cup that year. There was a billboard from the Hollywood tobacco that was very popular on that time. The Volkswagen how we say in Brazil, Fusca, the Fusca. And here I don't say. And all the petrol company, Petrobras. Well, this is very small elements because it's not important for the idea, but I know when the film was showed in Brazil, it's very personal, and Brazilians, of course, they will take these details much more deepest, more in a personal way. So this is one other big. I put it. I made this all these leaves here. I put it in the background, but they were just implemented in the compositing because they were animated in the compositing. So this background was the most huge. It looks very ugly here because I just make it here because there was a very long, quite of very complex composition work here. We can see here again the other billboard, and this one from Pelé, the soccer player, from some kind of battery publicity, Mexico again. And yeah, this was very huge because there is a quite long scene that I will show just very, very soon. This was probably the most complicated scene, most complex scene in the film, since it's quite long. And this file we can see it's, for example, the shot is like this, and the file is something like this. It was terrible to render this in the end. This one, for example, it's not so big like that, but still some kind. So I mixed this in the background just to the elements in the background just to see how they works. This background was that we recycled more. This one is simple. This one is quite big too. So here we can see the pão de açúcar. And, I'm sorry I'm going a bit fast because I still have some other things to show. Here we can see Corcovado. So this is very, very big too, very big background. So this was in already, of course, in the story, but I put it here because it was more clear to see. That for me was, since I'm doing animation film, for me it's very important to see which kind of ideas or visual ideas I can put it in the film. So I spent a long time like trying to figure out how many ideas, even since I told in the beginning, I had a very classic structure because I wanted to put all this idea that you could feel something very different and not so conventional in the way that you can watch a film. So I can show you some of these scenes. Well, I didn't want to show too much about technical aspect, but many people said, "Oh, how you did that scene of the aeroplane? How you use so much sophisticated animators?" Of course, there is a lot of things that was quite of tricky. So I will just show this scene of the aeroplane, how it was made. I put it all the process. So of course you see there is some 3D inside. Okay. So other element for me, it's very important since the storyboard and then animatic, it's the transition from the one scene of other. I'm the raccord, I don't know how to say in English, the transition from one scene to another, for me, they are always important to how you can explore these transitions. So I use it quite a lot. I think you understood the idea and not show everything. Well, the last but not least, of course, the Foley sound for everybody. This is, for me, this is one of the most amazing parts of the process. So we did it in a studio in Brussels called Dame Blanche, and with a very nice. It's funny that I'm thinking now this because the Pierre Greco, the guy that made the sound for Purple Boy, the Foley sound, is the same that did for the feature film of Lorenzo Mattotti, so that you will see just after Gustavo. So he did all the Foley sound for the feature film, and just after he worked it on Purple Boy. Oh, sorry again. There is no sound. Okay, now it's.
On ne la voit pas poser la main.
So that's all for me. Some questions? Thank you very much.
Other questions for Alexandre? I mean, it's great to see the development of projects that probably everybody is acquainted on, but still, like for each film, there is like a special thing. And here with you, one thing is very interesting that it took so long for a short film. And do you see it as a problem, or do you see it as a natural process that you needed to do? Because sometimes with short films that are too long in the making of, you can even lose the motivation, the energy, the drive that initiates everything. How was this for you? Like,
Honestly, I don't want to do this again. I mean, seriously, it looks funny, but how it's. I think 8 years is too much. It's really too much. I hope to still have. I don't want to get very practical or to do easy things. I really want to be always very demanding with myself. But I hope that to get conditions, not of course not only finances, but even creative conditions to run much faster than Purple Boy. For me, it was a lesson. These 8 years. Of course, I'm not like just complaining. Oh, it's so long. I learned a lot, really a lot. Like it's my first professional film. So for me, it was all very important. All these steps I took.
in terms of like subject matter and the distribution and promotion of the film, you hit many gay and lesbian film festivals. There are quite many nowadays in the world. Like, so this specialized niche was working at the end with the film, or you didn't think about sending the film to gay and lesbian festivals and being invited there to talk about?
You mean the thematic festivals?
Yeah.
Well, I think till now we were just selected for one LGBT festival. It was in Brussels, I think, like 2-3 weeks ago. But I hope that the film will be very welcome and accepted, because it's a subject that matters to discuss and to show. I have many feedback from our trans or even gays that told me, oh, your film is so touching, it's so important to see this kind of films today. And at the same time, it's not closed to the LGBT community. It's more wide than that, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So maybe the last chance, yeah, Olivier.
Alexandre, I'm not sure you want to talk about that, but maybe it's interesting for you to share about it. You had a first producer, you had a difficult relationship with it, and you quit him.
Oh, yes. No,
So maybe it's interesting for you to explain how you understand all this mess you had at the beginning of the film.
Yes, Olivier Catrin, he was, let's say, involved. He knows this project since a long time. He knows my my relationship with some producers. I mean, one specifically, probably. Let's say, it was not very easy to build this project. Since I'm not the most easiest person to work with, but for me, it's very important. I think all the authors, everybody will agree with me that the transparency between author and producer, the things are clear, and this kind of things in the past didn't happen so much with me. So when there is this, and then there is no respect, like arrogance or people that don't have so much experience and they want to control and they want to be the authority of the project. This just drives me crazy. I'm not the most experienced guy, but I know a bit about what I do. So before I work with Rainbox, I had a few issues building all this process, because it was quite, since it was Portugal, France, and Belgium. Belgium came in the last, so things were difficult. But finally, with let's say with the French, specifically production was, things with Michael was on top. I really liked to work with him.
Actually, what also when Olivier had his presentation, it should be based on trust, but then also it should be based on a contract that maybe even if you trust the producer, let's have some contract and let's read it carefully before signing it. I think it's important. Totally. Nowadays, especially that you see that everything that you predict should be put on paper, right? Even if it's like you trust the producer, but yeah. Okay, I suggest we cut because we really try to be on time here. Thank you, Alexandre, very much for your great presentation. We'll make a 5-minute break.
Thank you very much.
And please, let's stay with us because like to hear like experience on a feature.